She wasn't speeding. She wasn't breaking the law. She was just a mother, driving home after a long day in court. But in a split second, red and blue light shattered the night, and her life changed forever. Because when the officer pulled her over, he thought she was powerless. What he didn't know was that the woman standing before him held his future in her hands. Before we dive into this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Like, share, and don't forget to comment where you are watching from. It was late evening. The streets were quiet. Judge Naomi Richards, a 42-year-old black woman with years of experience on the bench, was driving home after a long day in court. Still in her professional attire, a navy blazer and a crisp white blouse, she looked every bit the authority figure she was. But to the officer trailing her car, she was just a target. Red and blue lights flashed. Naomi's heart sank, not because she had broken the law, but because she knew what this stop meant. She had lived it before, too many times. The officer swaggered up to her car, hand resting on his holster, license and registration. He barked, his tone dripping with disdain. Naomi kept calm. "Officer, may I ask why I was pulled over?" The man smirked. "Don't play smart with me. You swerved back there, probably distracted, maybe tired. Step out of the vehicle." Naomi hadn't swerved. She knew it. He knew it. But arguing was dangerous. So she complied. As she stood on the side of the road, neighbors peeked from porches. Some whispered, others recorded. Naomi, who spent her life upholding the law, was now being treated like a suspect by someone who had sworn to enforce it. The officer leaned in close, inspecting her like she was guilty by default. "What are you doing in this neighborhood? Don't see too many like you around here." The words cut deeper than the flashing lights, but Naomi stayed composed. She handed him her license, steady hands hiding the storm inside. The officer began his so-called search. He rifled through her car, tossing folders onto the ground. Court documents, transcripts, sealed evidence files. Papers fluttered into the street. "Hey!" Naomi finally snapped. "That's official court property." But the officer just laughed. "Court property? What are you, some kind of lawyer?" The irony was cruel. She wasn't a lawyer. She was a judge, one with authority over cases like his. A crowd of neighbors grew. Some film, murmuring in disbelief. "Isn't that Judge Richards?" One whispered. Recognition spread. But the officer didn't notice, or didn't care. He slapped handcuffs on her wrists. "You're under arrest for resisting and suspicious behavior." Naomi's jaw tightened. This wasn't just about a false stop anymore. This was humiliation, abuse, injustice playing out in real time. As he shoved her into the back of the cruiser, Naomi looked out at the crowd. Phones captured everything. She didn't plead. She didn't cry. She just stared forward, silent and resolute. Because deep down, she knew something the officer didn't. His arrogance had written the first page of a story he'd never be able to erase. The next morning, the officer strolled into court. Arrogant, confident. He thought nothing would come of last night. He thought his badge would shield him, like it always had. But when the judge entered the courtroom, his smoke vanished. Because standing at the bench, gavel in hand, was Naomi Richards, the very same woman he had cuffed and mocked less than 12 hours earlier. The room froze. Gasps echoed. Lawyers whispered. The irony was staggering. Naomi adjusted her glasses, her voice calm but edged with steel. "Officer Daniels, I trust you recognize me now." His face drained of color. He stammered. "Why, Your Honor, I didn't realize." She cut him off. "That much is clear. Because last night, you made it very obvious what you did realize. You realized you had a badge, and you thought that gave you power over me." The silence was heavy. Every eye in the courtroom was fixed on him. Naomi leaned forward. "But today, you're standing in my courtroom. And here, power belongs to the law, not to arrogance, not to prejudice, and certainly not to abuse." The officer swallowed hard, his hands trembling. The badge that once gave him confidence now felt like a chain pulling him down. For the first time, the tables had turned. Judge Naomi Richards didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her authority, her dignity, and the truth carried more weight than any weapon. Her story is a reminder that the fight against prejudice is not just fought in the streets, it's fought in the systems meant to protect us. It's a reminder that abuse of power can only last until it collides with real justice. And it's a lesson we should never forget. Never underestimate the person you're mistreating. You don't know their story, their strength, or the role they may play in holding you accountable. Just as Naomi thought the storm had passed, a shadow emerged. That evening, as she left the courthouse, a car trailed her slowly through the dark streets. Her phone buzzed, a block number. When she answered, a distorted voice whispered, "You think you embarrassed him? You've made enemies you can't even see. This isn't over." Naomi froze. For the first time, she realized this was bigger than one cop. Much bigger. And the battle for justice had only just begun. The courtroom humiliation should have been the end of it. Officer Daniels had been exposed in front of his peers, stripped of his arrogance, forced to face the truth of his own prejudice. Judge Naomi Richards thought justice had spoken, but what she didn't know was that the stop was never about a broken taillight. It was about intimidation. And the cop who pulled her over wasn't acting alone, because when the system is corrupt, justice itself becomes a target. That night, Naomi couldn't sleep. Every time headlights passed her window, her chest tightened. Her sister had called, worried after seeing the viral video online. Her colleagues had flooded her with messages of support. But one message stood out among the noise, a text from an unknown number. "You should have kept quiet." Naomi stared at the screen. Her throat went dry. It wasn't just a threat. It was a warning. The next morning, when she walked to her car, her tires had been slashed. A note was tucked under the wiper. "Judges bleed like everyone else." Naomi took a deep breath. She had presided over dangerous cases before. Gang leaders, drug traffickers, violent offenders. She had seen intimidation tactics. But this felt different. This wasn't about a single case. This was about her identity, her race, her very existence in a position of authority. And the worst part? She knew reporting it might not protect her, because the very people she'd be reporting to could be the ones behind it. Days later, the harassment escalated. Unmarked cars lingered outside her home. Strange phone calls came at odd hours, the line filled with static and heavy breathing. Her courthouse office was broken into, yet nothing was stolen, except one thing, a family photo. The message was clear. Naomi confided in a trusted clerk, a young woman named Clara. "They want me scared. They want me silent. But I won't bow." Clara hesitated. "But Your Honor, what if this isn't just about Officer Daniels? What if it's bigger?" Naomi's stomach turned. She had thought the same thing, and her fears were confirmed when a whistleblower reached out, a rookie cop, trembling as she handed Naomi a flash drive. I can't stay silent anymore," she whispered. "There's a group inside the department. They protect each other. They target people, especially people of color, who challenge them. And after what happened in court, you're their enemy now." Naomi's hand shook as she plugged the drive into her laptop. Files, audio recordings, photographs, a hidden network of officers, prosecutors, even city officials, all working to shield corruption. Her blood ran cold. This wasn't just intimidation. It was organized, and it was deadly. Naomi realized she couldn't fight this battle alone. She reached out to her brother, a federal prosecutor. Together, they began documenting everything, every threat, every suspicious car, every anonymous message. Then came the breaking point. One night, Naomi returned home to find her front door ajar. Her pulse raced. She stepped inside carefully. Nothing was stolen. But on her kitchen table sat a single item, her gavel, the one she kept locked in chambers. How had they gotten it? The message was chilling. They weren't just watching her. They could reach her anywhere. But instead of breaking her, it steeled her resolve. The next day in court, she presided over Daniel's misconduct hearing. He walked in smug again, backed by lawyers who whispered promises of protection. But Naomi wasn't afraid anymore. She stared directly at him and said, "Officer Daniels, the law isn't your shield. It's your mirror. And when it reflects your abuse of power, the world will see you for who you truly are." The crowd murmured. Daniels shifted uncomfortably. For the first time, his confidence cracked. Because deep down, He knew. The shield he had trusted was already starting to crumble. Judge Naomi's story reminds us of a painful truth. Sometimes, those sworn to uphold justice are the very ones trying to destroy it. But it also reminds us of something stronger, courage in the face of fear. Power can intimidate, power can threaten, but real strength comes from refusing to bow, even when the system is stacked against you. Naomi's dignity, her resolve, her refusal to be silenced became more powerful than any badge, any threat, or any whispered warning. That night, Naomi received a call from her brother. His voice was tense. "Naomi, I've gone through the file from the flash drive. It's worse than we thought. These officers, they're not just protecting each other. They've been covering up violent crime for years. And Daniels isn't a pawn, he's a recruiter." Naomi's breath caught. A recruiter? For what? Before she could ask, a loud crash came from outside. She rushed to the window. The car was engulfed in flames. The fire reflected in her eyes as the foam slipped from her hand. This wasn't just corruption anymore. This was war. The flames roared outside Naomi's home, consuming her car in a blaze of orange and black. Neighbors rushed into the street. Phones out, gasps echoing through the night. Sirens wailed in the distance, but Naomi didn't move. She stood frozen by the window, the fire reflecting in her wide, unblinking eyes. Because she understood something terrifying. This wasn't a warning anymore. This was a declaration of war. When the fire department arrived, their report was quick and clear: arson. Someone had poured accelerant across the hood, lit it, and vanished into the night. Her brother rushed over, his face pale. "Naomi, this was planned. They are not just threatening you, they are making a statement." Naomi nodded slowly. Her voice trembled, but her eyes stayed fierce. "Then let them know this. I don't break." Still, the truth gnawed at her. This wasn't just about intimidation anymore. It was about control. Whoever these people were, they wanted her silenced, permanently if necessary. And Daniels, he wasn't working alone. He was just one piece of something much larger. Over the next week, Naomi's life turned into a battlefield. Anonymous letters slid under her door. "Step down or step into the grave." Her courthouse computer was hacked, case file corrupted, evidence deleted. Even her daughter, Maya, received strange messages on social media. "Tell your mother to quit." The cruelty wasn't just professional. It was personal. They were coming after her family. Naomi wanted to protect Maya, to keep her out of the storm. But her daughter, wise beyond her years, refused to back down. "Mom," Maya whispered one night, "if you quit now, they win." Naomi's chest tightened. Even in the darkest moments, her daughter's courage reminded her why she couldn't stop. The turning point came from an unexpected ally. The same rookie cop who had delivered the flash drive contacted Naomi again. Her voice shook over the phone. "Judge Richards, they know I helped you. I don't have much time. Meet me tonight." Naomi's instinct screamed danger, but she agreed. In the dead of night, they met in a dimly lit diner on the edge of town. The rookie slid a folder across the table. Inside, names, dates, coded communications. Evidence of officers running illegal side operations, covering up assaults, planting drugs, falsifying reports. But one page stood out, a list labeled recruitment targets. Naomi froze. Her own name was at the top. Her voice was barely a whisper. Recruitment. The rookie leaned in. They are building a secret society within the department. Officers loyal only to each other, not the law. Daniels isn't just corrupt, he's a recruiter. And once you became his enemy, you became their number one target. Naomi's hands trembled as she closed the folder. The scope of the corruption wasn't just local, it was systemic. If she didn't act now, more lives would be destroyed. She made a decision. She would take the evidence to the FBI. The FBI listened carefully. Naomi presented the folder, the flash drive, and the threats. Agents exchanged grim looks. They had heard whispers of such a network before, but no judge had ever stood up against it. Judge Richards, one agent said, "If you move forward with this, they'll come after you harder than ever. Are you prepared for that?" Naomi met his gaze, her voice unwavering. "I've been preparing for this my entire life." That night, she returned home, exhausted but resolute. She tucked Maya into bed, kissed her forehead, and whispered a promise. No matter what happens, truth will win. But even as she spoke, shadows moved outside her house. A car idled across the street, headlights off. Figures sat inside, watching. The war wasn't coming. It was already here. Naomi's story in this moment isn't about fear. It's about resilience. It shows us that standing for truth comes at a cost. Sometimes, the very system meant to protect us becomes a system we must fight against. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's a refusal to let fear decide your fate. Naomi knew the threats were real. She knew the danger was growing. But she also knew this. If she stayed silent, she would not only lose herself, she would lose justice itself. And that was a price she was unwilling to pay. Late one night, as Naomi reviewed case files in her study, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A distorted voice whispered, "You think the FBI can save you? They can't even save themselves. Tomorrow night, we finish this." The line went dead. Naomi's hand shook. She looked toward Maya's room, her protective instinct burning stronger than ever. And then, a loud knock at the door. She froze. Midnight. 3 knocks. Slow. Heavy. When she opened it, she found an envelope on her porch. Inside, a single bullet, with her name etched into its casing. The message was clear. Tomorrow night would decide everything. The bullet with Naomi's name carved into it sat heavy in her trembling hands. Tomorrow night. That was the promise. That was the threat. For weeks, she had been stalked, harassed, and nearly broken. But this was different. This was the endgame. And Naomi understood one truth more than ever. If she didn't strike back now, there might not be a tomorrow for her or for justice itself. The morning after the threat, Naomi met with the FBI agents again. Their faces were tense, their voices clear. "We verified the network," one agent said. "It's bigger than expected. Dozens of officers, prosecutors, even city officials. Daniel is one of their recruiters. Yes, but is also their enforcer. And based on the threats, they are planning something soon. Something violent." Naomi clenched her fist. "Then we can't wait. We need to act now." The agents exchanged looks. Finally, one nodded. "We'll set up a sting operation. But Judge Richards, it's dangerous. If you're willing, you'll be bait." Her heart pounded. Bait. The very word felt like a death sentence. But she thought of Maya, Clara, every young person might one day face an opportunity. And she thought of every black mother, father, and child who had been silenced by fear. She straightened her back. "Do it. I'll play my part." That night, Naomi drove to a remote meeting from the FBI. The agents tracked her everywhere, hidden in unmarked vans. She tried to keep her hand steady on the wheel, but her pulse hammered against her foot. When she arrived, Daniel was already there. A smug grin cut through darkness. Well, he sneered. "Judge Richards, the woman who thinks she can take down an empire." Naomi didn't flinch. Empires built in lies always collapse. Yours is no different. Daniel stepped closer, his voice low and venomous. "You don't understand. We're untouchable. Every time one of us falls, 10 more rise. You can't fight what you can't see." But Naomi's eyes flicked to the shadows, where FBI lenses recorded every word, every breath. Daniels pulled a pistol from his jacket, the metal glinting under the streetlight. "Shame you won't live longer to see it." Naomi's breath hissed. For one terrifying moment, it felt like the end. Then, red and blue lights exploded across the night. Agents swarmed from every direction, weapons drawn. "FBI, drop the gun." Daniel's face twisted. He looked around, realizing too late he had been played. The takedown was swift but brutal. Daniel tried to run, shouting, "You'll never win. We own this city." But agents tackled him hard, cuffing his wrist. Naomi exhaled, shaking, her body trembling and drenched. She had stayed deathly faint and survived, but justice was finished. Weeks later, Daniel sat in court, shackled inside. Evidence from the flash drive, Wookiee's testimony, and the FBI sting painted a damning picture of systemic corruption. Naomi didn't preside over the case. She recused herself, but she sat in the gallery, Maya at her side. She listened as prosecutors laid bare the truth. A secret brotherhood inside law enforcement, a network that thrived on intimidation and fear. And then the verdict came. Guilty. Daniel's head dropped as the judge read his sentence. Decades behind bars. The courtroom erupted, some in anger, some in relief. But Naomi felt only one thing: peace. For the first time in months, she could breathe. Naomi's story is proof of something powerful. Justice is never easy. It's never clean. And sometimes it demands everything you have: your safety, your comfort, even your peace of mind. But justice also demands courage, because corruption only thrives when good people stay silent. Naomi wasn't silent. She wasn't intimidated. And because of her, a network built on fear began to crumble. Her life had been threatened, her home violated, her family targeted. And yet, she never broke. And that's a lesson. Real strength isn't the badge, or the robe, or the gavel. Real strength is in the unshakable will to stand for what's right, even when the cost is everything. After the verdict, Naomi walked out of the courthouse into the cool afternoon air. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. She held Maya's hand tightly, shielding her from the chaos. As they reached their car, Naomi's phone buzzed. An email. No sender, no subject. Just one chilling line. Daniels was never the leader. He was only the beginning. Naomi's blood ran cold. She looked around the parking lot, scanning every shadow, every face. The war wasn't over. It had only just begun. If you enjoy this story, sure to subscribe to our channel for more.